All right, here we go now with Steve Phillips. Our pal does a wonderful job. Of course, GM of the Mets, way back. There he is. He says hello. Steve, welcome. Always a pleasure. Let's first talk Alderson. No big surprise there. Sandy now in an advisor role to Steve Cohen. You know, he was the Met GM for a long time. I think overall did a nice job of giving the Mets some credibility again. I know he had some issues with some GMs and all those things, and they were a little disappointing with the whole thing with Callaway. But I think if you're a Met fan, you got to want a pennant, better now. You got to be generally pretty pleased. Let's talk about him first. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. If you go back to his first run as general manager for the Mets, he came in at just the right time. Remember, it was right around the Madoff situation. And having a general manager was brought in, an experienced guy who had been a GM in a small market. The Mets kind of had to operate as a smaller market team in the large market because of the Madoff situation. So he was the perfect fit back then. The other thing is they had been on a run of sort of young, immature general managers, including me. And they brought in an adult when Sandy came in. And he really did a nice job getting them back on track during a really tough time. And then coming back in, I think for Steve Cohen coming in with questions about, you know, his old business and things that went on there, Sandy Alderson gave him credibility, instant credibility to come in, again, a mature guy coming in the front office to at least get things set up. This is the plan all along, that once they got things going, he would step down. Now they'll look for somebody else to take over the presidency of the team. Until then, he'll continue to serve, and then he'll be a special advisor.
All right, so the new president they bring in is going to inherit Billy Eppler. Is this correct? Let me hear your take on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think for sure. And look, Billy Eppler's done a terrific job. I mean, he's made a lot more right decisions than wrong ones this year. A lot's gone right for a guy that couldn't build a pitching staff in Los Angeles. He's done an amazing job with the Mets. The Bassett, the Scherzer signings were huge for the team. The Bassett trade, Taiwan Walker, and everything they've got there. I think that he's done a really nice job. And so, you know, I suspect, remember, that this role is going to be the dinosaur role. Sandy Alderson's role, he's overseeing baseball and business. And I think that, you know, there aren't a lot of guys who are really qualified to do that. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they go, because it's not just the president of baseball operations. This is a president of operations. And so it's somebody that has quite a wide and broad resume to be able to take over that responsibility.
And you and I have discussed this. The Mets psychologically have to win the division. You could sit there and tell me that playing the Dodgers, winning only 3 games against them instead of 4 games is easier. I can buy that to a certain degree, but their starting rotation would be a mess if they had to play a wild card round. Psychologically, it would be damaging. The Braves could withstand it. The Mets can't. They must end up winning the NL East. You agree with that, correct?
Yeah, I think it's about expectations. I mean, the Mets have been in first place almost the entire season. And for them at some point to fall out of first, to be a wild card team, it'll feel like a failure heading into the postseason when you want to feel like this is exciting, this is great, we're going to make a run, we're going to play great. And so, yeah, I think psychologically it's huge for the Mets. And for the Braves, they got off to the slow start. They've been charging hard. Even if they come up a little bit short, the run that they've been on, the success that they've had, they can go in feeling great about themselves and having tremendous momentum. Sure, the Braves would like to win the division, but I think it's a critical factor for the Mets in the way that they experience themselves starting October baseball.
100% plus DeGrom and Scherzer can have 5 days off. I think that's a big deal, too. Braves have a little more depth, you know, Fried and Wright and everything else. I think the Mets really need those two to be tremendous. You give the Twins any chance to make a little headway this weekend, or are the Guardians in good shape in the American League Central?
Well, I think the Guardians are in good shape. They're not a perfect team. They're a flawed team. I mean, listen, of the 6 teams that are going to make the playoffs in the American League, they're going to have the 6th best record. And so they're not a great team. But I think Minnesota is so streaky. And so even if Minnesota has a great weekend, I don't trust that they'll sustain it. They just don't have the pitching to sustain a long run of success. They need good timing to be on their part. So on a day they don't pitch, they better hit. On a day they don't hit, they better pitch. And trying to link that timing up over the last 3 weeks of the season is going to be a really difficult task. So they may or may not have a great weekend. I just don't see Minnesota being able to get it done because the Guardians have such great depth in starting pitching. To me, they're still the team to beat, regardless of what Elvis Andrus says in the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, 100%. Andrus has been here about a week, and I got to listen to him. I completely agree. All right, how about the Seattle, Toronto, Tampa scenario? You and I have also discussed this. You know, if you can't be fourth, you'd rather be sixth and not play the other team that's fourth and end up playing the Guardians you just mentioned as in the 3-6 round. You may not get that opportunity because you're going to be fighting for home field down the stretch. You got to give Seattle a little edge because they don't got to beat each other up in the American League East. But that will be interesting here these last 3 weeks. Analyze that for me for a sec. Let me hear.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a great race. You know, it's interesting. You might be able to make the argument you'd rather be sixth than fourth or fifth. Sure, you want that home series if you can get it. You're not gonna run away from that. You're gonna play to get it. But listen, if I'm Toronto, I've got lined up to play Seattle. Even if I'm playing at home, I don't love that matchup. If I'm Seattle and I'm at home and I'm playing Toronto, I don't love that matchup because you know what? Blue Jays fans show up out in Seattle in that ballpark. And so really, you know, and look, this is no insult to the Guardians whatsoever. And listen, Bieber and Tristan McKenzie and Quantrill and what they have in that rotation is pretty good. And they're good at the end of the game with Clase and Karinchak. And Ramirez is a nice leader. But I'd still rather play the Guardians even if I were the first wild card team in the 4 seed. I might not rather play Toronto or Seattle. I want to play the Guardians in the playoffs.
100%. We are on the same page there. All right, the Dodgers are playing for nothing here in the last 3 weeks of the season. You know, I mean, I'm sure Roberts they've had a lot of experience with that, so they're used to it. But boy, oh boy, then they're going to have 6 days off before they start a divisional series. So theoretically, you can make the argument that the Dodgers will not play another important game until 3 weeks from Tuesday. How do they handle that down the stretch? Let me hear.
Yeah, so they've been there before, and I think Dave Roberts will create a sense of urgency for his team. And what do they need to do to get ready for October baseball? They need to get momentum at the end of the game. Craig Kimbrell's got to get some confidence for himself because if he heads into the postseason with the way that he's been pitching right now, that's a real Achilles heel for this team. Even the road to get to him at the end of the game. Then it comes about, is Gonsolin going to be back as part of that rotation or not? And if he's not, then how do you line those guys up? You're going to have 4 left-handed pitchers pitching there. Who's that right-hander? Does Dustin May factor in all of it? So they've got some things to figure out both health-wise and how they're going to line up that staff on the roster as they go. The offense is good. They're going to try to get everybody rested, everybody healthy, ready to go there. But the 6 days off is not insignificant. And in those days, they're going to have to create a sense of urgency in game-like situations the best that you can to prepare them for when the lights turn on bright and they're getting ready to play in the division series.
You give Milwaukee any chance to make up the 2 games against the Padres for the 6th spot?
I do. And you know why I do? Because Bob Melvin's worried. Bob Melvin called out his team yesterday after the game. He said, this isn't acceptable the way we're playing. We've got to play better right now. It's 1 in the loss column. And so there's, you know, that's part of the factor too. Milwaukee, I think, has a shot. San Diego is just lumbering down here the last couple of weeks of the season. They're not scoring runs. They got shut out twice in the last week by Arizona Diamondbacks rookies. And unless they get it going and have somebody emerge as a leader to punch everybody in the gut, to slap them in the face, wake them up and get them going, they may just keep sliding away to where Milwaukee can pass them and get it going. So I'm a little worried for the Padres, and I do think the Brewers have a shot.
You do. Well done there, Steve. We'll keep in touch. Thanks very much here for an update. Appreciate you coming on.